98. The mercy of the Almighty be upon Akorah, that selected Sarah for his home, since I have on the subject reflected. If thou believe me, 'tis of all others the spot. Its dark mountain range of Hadaya runneth directly into the Tira country, and the Nilab of Landai have wonderfully laid their heads at its feet. The great high road of Hindustan and Khorasan is made along their banks, and by Attic lieth its ford, which both kings and beggars hold in dread. Every blessing of the earth that can be called to mind cometh to us thereby. And as the country is rainy, who shall tell how beautiful is its spring, whether it be the district of Suwat or Ashnagar, or whether Peshawar, they have recourse unto it, and its abundance goeth forth to them all. There is game around in every direction, sport for falcon, hawk, or hound. Hail, hail, Kala! Pardon me, what heart-ravishing sport dost thou contain? The youth of Sarag are healthy and stout, active and agile in everything. Merry-eyed, white and red, and tall in stature are they, the eye unto. Whether it be son or grandson, for their family or whether tribe, may the protection of the Almighty be extended to all who dwell therein. Fate, alas, hath taken him from it. Can the arm of anyone reach fate? KHUSHʿÂL hath not been severed from Sarag of his own accord. Ah, no. And KHUSHʿÄL was aided in his wars with the Aurangzeb by some Afridi chiefs. Jalalabad is a pass leading. Oh, there's a pass named from that leads from Peshawar to Jalalabad. There's a small state held by independent Afghan tribes northwest of Peshawar. And remember, this is also the country boundaries are not quite what we may think. And he went, KHUSHʿÄL went to the Yusufzai country to endeavor to persuade the tribe to assist the Confederates. And the Yusufzai, has there been genetic studies showing that they're an ancient Israelite tribe? That doesn't mean they're Jews, you know, although Judaism is stronger there than other parts of the Muslim majority world, but, you know, except what they now call Israel. But, and there's high mountains to the right of the Khyber Pass, looking from Peshawar, and it gives a name to another pass that leads to Jalalabad. A Pargana is a division of the Peshawar district, lying, as its name implies, between two rivers, the Landai and the Kabul. There's a town of the Peshawar district named. Aurangzeb dethroned his father, Shah Jahan, whom he confined in prison until his death, which took place 7 years after. Now, that's a political thing. You don't put people in prison for political things, right? And there were Yusufzais who wouldn't aid in all this stuff going on. Sir Robert Sale helped make famous some district in Afghanistan. Jalalabad, okay, was a chief in that town of that district. The 5th month of the Afghan year. Okay, what is this? The third sister, the year of Gafu. Okay, I don't know what that is. The abjad system of computing letters, Gafu, is equivalent to the year 1086. And you see this on Hebrew graves. You see something for the year, but it's more consistent. You don't have a different word pointing out a different year. But some of these poets are great because of things that we don't see in English. So Cyrus, or Khosrow, is a model of the great kings. I'm going to not so much talk about bibliography here. Abu Lahab and Bu Jahl, the former uncle and the later cousin of Muhammad, were his greatest enemies and opposers in the propagation of Islam. Umar, the second caliph after Muhammad, is called Farouk, the Distinguisher. Of course, it would be told that he would, there'd be some trial and he'd be killed because of some of the disputes. He was told this, well, Sunni narrations point out that this is what would happen. Gabur is given to the Parsis, who don't actually worship the fire, by the way. They hold up the fire as a symbolic tool, but elephants tend to put dirt and mud and stuff on them to either keep insects away or to drive them away, or protect them from the sun and stuff, but it's a symbol of sorrow for a lot of people. Sultan Mu'izz-ud-Din Sanjar was the son of Malik Shah, the sixth monarch of the race of the Seljuk, well, the dynasty of Seljuk, right? And for upwards of 20 years, the governor of Khorasan. His life is remarkable for the vicissitudes he suffered, having once been confined for 4 years in an iron cage by the Guzian tribe of Turkomans, but subsequently escaped. He died the 25th of Rabi'a ul-Awwal, al-Hijra 552. So the third month. After a reign of 41 years, paramount sovereign of Persia, and in the 73rd of his age, with him the grandeur of the race of the Seljuk terminated. He has been equally praised for his piety and modesty, disposition, and for his benevolence, and the love of his people, and his respect for, and his encouragement of learning and learned men, and for his zeal and exertions to promote the advancement of his religion. Shaddad and his garden of Iram. Mirbaz Khan is a connexion of KHUSHʿÄAL's, whose real devotion was the wealth of the Mughals. Qarun, the son of Yashar, the uncle of Moses, and identified with the Korah of the Bible, who, at the complaint of Moses, against whom had brought false accusation, and was swallowed by the earth at the command of the Almighty. The rue plant was anciently regarded as an infallible antidote against poison, pestilence, and the devil. It is much used in exorcisms, and has been extravagantly eulogized and extolled by all writers, from Hippocrates to Borahav. The Afghans, the herb and its seeds are used as fumigations to ward off the evil eye. I don't know if I've listed that in my symbolism of rueing the day. I made a video with rue talking about its, symbolism in an artful way. Trying to grow that all over if I can, really. A belt or cord, more particularly worn around the middle by the Eastern Christians and Jews, and also by the Persian Magi, that was introduced. Oh, it's great for headaches, by the way, Ruiz. And introduced in 859 by the Khalifa Mutawakkil to distinguish them from Muslimin. This appears to refer to some of the poet's wives who bore him disobedient sons, two undutiful sons of the poet, particularly Bahram. The species of parrot here referred to, we should term paroquet in this country. Green is the mourning color in the Muslim countries. There's a lot more to green than that, really. And there is kind of dervish that goes about almost naked, because as you know, modesty and some other things about Islam aren't necessarily followed by the Sufis. Well, I mean, it depends on the Sufi, so be careful with your judgment, It is usual with young females to wear a clove in the nostril to keep the orifice pierced for the insertion of the nose jewel on marriage. A black mole, okay. The father of ignorance was an uncle of Muhammad, so, Abu Jahl, I think that. A kind of dish made from flesh and rice, which are added raisins and almonds. Rihani, or is that what? Aurangzeb was the son of the Emperor Shah Jahan. And I'm looking up what that dish is right now. Pulao and rice and sweetness, okay. A want of occupation is not rest. A mind quite vacant is a mind distressed. Cowper wrote those two lines there. And the poet returned from Suwat and had gone to endeavor to introduce the Yusufis to join the confederacy against Aurangzeb. And skinners and tanners, much like in Jewish culture, the Afghans tended to look upon them as contemptible. Well, certainly there can be a smell to a tanner or skinner. Sama signifies a plain in the Afghan language, and is a name given to the tract of country lying between the Kabul River near its junction with the Indus and the mountains bounding Swat on the south. And there's a poem written during the poet's exile in India, and Sara-e was his place of birth. Kala Parni is the name of an extensive forest in the KHATTAK country that had a lot of game animals. The Nilab, or blue water, is one of the names of the Indus, which washes the base of the Hadai. A few miles farther up is the Landai in Pushto, signifying less or little, a name given to the river of Kabul, which joins the Indus a few miles above the Attic, a town on the east bank of the Indus, on the high road in between India and Khorasan. The high mountain facing Attic, and a little lower down the valley than the village of Khairabad on the same side, which rises up directly from the Indus, is Mount Hadai, which gives its name to the whole range, reaching as far as Tira, a district lying about southeast from Peshawar. The Bara River rises in Tira, which is beyond the Khyber Pass, and is inhabited by Afghans of the Afridi and Tira tribes. Akorai is the name of KHUSHʿÄAL's great-grandfather, who conquered from the Wurakzi tribe, the country now held by the KHATTAKs. There's a town named after this chief between Attic and Peshawar. And so it's admitted that as much as the Afghans are criticized here, There was more of a problem with certain things among the Englishmen. Well, I mean, you know, the English people, so the English women. Emperor Aurangzeb found that KHUSHʿÂL and his brother Confederates could not be subdued with the sword and tried gold and diplomacy, to which most of them succumbed. And in that time, ascetics and dervishes carried a club or a staff. Hence, how, like in the tarot, the club or the staff becomes the symbol of, you know, of the spirit. Damgar is the name of a small town in Swat. The name of the ancestor of one of the great divisions of the Afghans is Sarban. It includes some of the western tribes, also the Yusufzis of the northeastern parts of Afghanistan, refused assistance to KHUSHʿÄL and his Confederates in their wars with Aurangzeb. And in that region, you have some of the oldest inscriptions of the Bible. Some portions have survived that are older than what exists in Israel for those verses. And they called the language back then Aramea. So yeah, they didn't call it Hebrew, and they didn't call, you know, it wasn't Judaism back then. So, you know. The poem appears to have referenced the coldness of the poet's Confederates in the war with the Mughals and the trouble KHUSHʿÄL had with his sons. And musk is a symbol of youth, and the hair is the color of musk, and camphor is old age. Balaam, the son of Beor, who being requested by his nation to curse Moses and the children of Israel, refused at first, saying, "How can I curse those whom the angels protect?" But afterwards he was prevailed upon by gifts, and he had no sooner done what they wished than he began to put out his tongue like a dog, and hung down upon his breast. Al-Baidawi, Jalaluddin al-Zamakhshari. Now, if it's in a poem, it doesn't always necessarily relate to the literal case of what's going on. And the name of the poet, KHUSHʿÄL, signifies happy, or the heart becomes happy. And Iram has been discovered, so the south of Arabia. A hyacinth or spikenard is compared to dark locks, and the lily or jasmine to the fairness of the face of the beloved. And dark red tulips are pointed out. And the tail or termination of the turban hanging behind was, you know, much like the put a feather in his hat and called macaron, you know, that sort of thing. So it's not just what one claims. Gold and infidelity are what people sell themselves for, even if they are claiming a faith. Indian husbands chastise their wives with a shoe for trivial matters. Islam itself teaches that, you know, you talk first. So the light, you know, whatnot you say, that is obviously not the first thing that people would do, and the best of people would never do that. So, well, they try to get spouses that are, you know, going to be more decent to them. It's not just mere likes and dislikes if these things arise. Like in modern days, we'd have people hauled off to jail and all that sort of stuff. So if it gets past talking and separation, that sort of thing. Referring to the scanty garments of the women of India, the patriarch Joseph is referenced. China and Chinese Tartary is famous for beautiful women, and Tartary was that very territory outside of what they would call China, the Turks and the Mongols, you know. Oh, and over the Huns and whatnot over by Moscow and stuff. So Tartary was this, you know, the steppes of Eurasia basically. And there are women that are called Hindus that mount the funeral pyre of their deceased husband for honor's sake, because they call the women over there nothing. If you don't kill yourself when your husband dies, you're nothing, but you're going to be something. Suti instead of Asuti, you know. Kata or Kate is the northern part of China, or Chinese Tartary, famous for its musk and pretty damsels. So eventually the nomads in the north became incorporated in places like Turkey and China and stuff like this. The black-eyed virgins of Islamic paradise, you know, big eyes, all that. Antimony increases the blackness of the eyes. It's also something that helps protect the eyes from the sun. The reeder pipe is an emblem of slightness and weakness, and the utter or a plaintive sounds. Jahangir Shah is as the world's conquering king, and the fourth Mughal emperor of India adapted that. He was the son of Akbar. Nur Mahal is light of the harem, called that his favorite queen that. So every major event, his wars with the Afghans, all sorts of stuff he wrote poems with. Long and wide sleeves are worn in the East. Well, whether it's wrapping around, having more protection from the cold, or the floppiness, kind of winding you with the heat. It's not about the East, it's about the weather. 2 or 3 independent, well, not the tight revealing clothing, is can be good for the health too, but and certainly modest, but 2 or 3 independent tribes of the Khyberis that together about 120,000 people who hold the Khyber Pass, and they're the most criticized of the Afghan tribes. The Afridis. The Afghan women have curls and stuff in their hair that are sometimes compared to black snakes. The Mu'adhin is obviously the person who makes the announcement that is heard about the prayer. The chieftainship among the family of the KHATTAK tribe is still hereditary. Attar of roses, a very expensive thing. Just grow roses, put some roses in your pocket if you want real rose scent. And some people can tell the difference, and I can tell the difference via allergies of the artificial stuff, but you know, that's not quite the same thing. And certain poets are mentioned. And there's a substance that is used for preserving Egyptian mummies here called is that the sap of apricot trees? Because they use that in making mummies, don't they? Or the ancient Egyptians did. Noshirwan the Just was a Persian monarch during the time of Prophet Muhammad's birth. Hujjaj was the governor of Khorasan under the Caliphs of the Umayyah, and a notorious tyrant. There's a lesser tyrant among the Muawiyah, who were people call the fifth caliph because he made it, rather than the others, he started making it easier for people to accept Islam by lifting certain conditions, but he wasn't exactly the best rulers either, but people nickname him the fifth rightly guided caliph, but that's like more of a nickname than actual consideration, although there's people who look to them. So which I don't, again, I don't agree with any of the Umayyad Caliphate. It was prophesied in Abu Dawood what would happen the year of the killing of Hussein by the Muawiyah dynasty. It's not said that that would happen that year. But Bayezid Ansari took the name of Pir Roshan, very famously referred to in conversation between Shamsa Tabriz and Jalaluddin and some other instances like that. The Roshanian sect changed the name of Pir Roshan, Saint of Life, to Pir Tariq, the Saint of Darkness. Yeah, when somebody starts their own sect and all that other stuff, it's one thing having a group of teaching and that sort of thing. And some people believe that there's a cloth, that gauze is like torn by its exposure to the moonlight. But I mean, gauze is something that you have to be more careful with. So if you can't see as well in the moonlight as the sunlight. The Afghan emperors of the Ludi tribe were sultans: Bahlol, Sikandar, Ibrahim, reigned from 1450 to 1526. Babar conquered Hindustan. His son Humayun was thrown by Sher Shah, an Afghan of the tribe of Sur, in 1540. To him succeeded Selim Shah, his son. His son Muhammad Shah was dethroned by Humayun, the previous emperor, and the father of Akbar, in 1556. All these states of the Common Era. Afrit is one of the most fear and cruel of the firebanks. And some people say an Afrit is they attach themselves to murder and stuff like that. So some people literally think you have to kill another. So some of these satanic groups that talk about human sacrifice being necessary to create a Nexion, they're probably talking about an Afrit. The involvement of the Afrit in their lives and their at least temple space or something. And there's plays of words. Inserting her own name and the husband's, interplay between that. Betel leaf, yeah. Betel leaf being used as makeup. Betel is also something that can be, isn't that the thing that's like, can be bad on the teeth? The Lausania inermis tree has a bright orange-red color. Oh, is this henna? And KHUSHʿÄAL's wife is said to have written poem 44. Landaya Sindh, our little river. Is the river of Kabul. And they connect that via the Suat or ancient Suastis, and it joins the Indus a little above the Attic. So little river, big river, Abu Sind, that makes sense. The town of Sara'eh belongs to the KHATTAK tribe of the Afghans, lies amongst the hills west of Attic, and not far from the west bank of the Sind or Indus. It is one of the chief towns of the tribe and the birthplace of the poet, and his ancestors are buried. KHUSHʿÂL, okay. A mendicant or devotee, Darwish, okay. Under the two names of Iran and Turan, from which people term the Irani and Turani, Eastern authors comprehend all Higher Asia except China and India. Iran, which is the Eastern name for the Persian Empire, includes that immense tract of country lying between the Oxus and Bactris on the north and the Arabian Sea on the south. Oh, my chair squeaking again. And the Tigris on the west. The region beyond the Oxus is Turan or Scythia or Turkomania. In some instances, Irani and Turani include all mankind, and some in the same manner as Greek and barbarian, Jew and Gentile, Arab and Ajam. And remember that some of the ancient Persian and Hindu texts refer to 5 tribes. One was these, Afghans and West and such. What may be deemed Persian, although Persian may not be the best name for that race, but the Hindus were the other 4 races, you could say. Sama is a plain in the Afghan language, so it doesn't have to do with Sema of the Sufis. The end of the Emperor Shah Jahan being dethroned and imprisoned is referenced in a poem here. And we come to the end of this comment. And Ashraf Khan KHATTAK is the next poet in our series.